and a pleasure to be back with you all. So, today I want to talk about one of the things that was placed on my spirit, and that is the dating desperation that we see, the overwhelming rhetoric as it relates to dating. And it's natural for us as humans who have a desire to be in partnerships. We do have an innate desire for intimacy, whether romantic or non-romantic, so it is natural. However, when you think about the base of how people treat one another, I think that's what I really contemplate and refer back to. Now, I myself, especially right now, the psychology of the differences between men and women, the psychology of different decades of humans, the psychology of the world we live in. I mean, not just the psychology, but also when you talk about the spiritual aspects. I've always taken interest in that, right? But like I said, it's more so the mundane rhetoric that is being thrown around, the devaluing back and forth, the different schools of thought to try to assert dominance over. It's mostly been over women, but now you see women tapping into the game and increasing their numbers, because there's always been women tapping deeply into this game, but you're seeing it become more of what I would call as a former. Wow, I just struggle with that. As a farmer, okay, maybe, you know, I always look at that as you really need to say what you were about to say when you're struggling to say it. So as a someone who has experience as a financial dominatrix, and I do think I mentioned before that I would get into that in full in a video of its own, but what we would call the vanilla world, so the regular world, a lot of these things were more so underground confirmations, because on a everyday level there are certain things that people experience. It's just that when you get into the type of manipulation I feel like that's been unleashed into the world, this was more so like on the BDSM scene, or any type of low key scene, or also wealthy people, Hollywood, those type of things. And also certain cultures do teach their women especially to approach dating and everything a certain way. Ooh. But, you know, as I said, it's really pouring out, unfortunately, onto everyday people. And how everyday people definitely have always had their flaws. A lot of these things were well and alive. But like I said, with the confirmation of a lot of these different schools of thought, theologies, ways of being, and people look at it as, okay, well, people can do what they want. Well, with that same rhetoric, pedophiles can do what they want, right? With that same rhetoric, murderers can do what they want, right? So to a certain extent, there has to be discipline, and I just put what I can out there for whoever will come across it. I never really force things. I am blessed enough to be a mother, so I'm very grateful that I'll be able to pour this knowledge, especially for young women, Black women, during this time, but also young Black men. But like I said, I really like to focus on the Black women and girls, and women and girls at large, because if you really look out into where we've been, not for decades but for centuries, Women and children have really, really suffered the greater extent of violence, abuse, sexual assault, and all of those things. And I do not want to ever move that from the conversation. And so that is one of the main points with this whole dating desperation. Let's start with the women, for example. You have a lot of these fake femininity coaches, and I don't say that to diss these women or down them for what they may be attempting to do. There's plenty of times where I think that I'm doing the right thing, and I know that I may think that I'm approaching it the proper way, but later I may gain wisdom to either alter it or abandon whatever I was projecting or putting out there altogether. I really want to highlight how dangerous this can be for young women. My apologies, I had to get my throat together, do a little clearing of the throat. However, as I was saying before, it's really dangerous because, like I said, not for decades, but centuries, maybe even more, women and children have been on the most, unbeneficial end of these things. So when you're putting this rhetoric out, you're really just reiterating the enslavement that women are trying to break through. And I do not agree with most of the mainstream ideologies that are put out there for so-called women empowerment and things of that nature, because a lot of those things, a lot of these movements get hijacked by narcissists. Excuse me. But it's very, very important, especially to see some of these women I know are in their 30s and above. I would even say some of them in their 40s and above. And it's like, at that point, I really have to believe that you've been purposefully, why was I trying to add another P? Not editing any of this out either, which is good. Quick little plug for myself. I really can see that I've worked past imposter syndrome to a certain degree, because I used to be there was a certain point in my face where I got a little bit overcritical of, errors or whatever. And that, anyways, so back to what I was saying. These women who are in their 40s and above, I have to believe you've been purposefully overlooking the plight of women and children, or you never took the time to really look beyond your own situation, or you're allowing whatever situations you've been through to allow you to be justified in going into what we can call demon time, right? So now you're putting out this rhetoric that is very superficial, because all a woman really needs to know that if she truly can take time to be still and heal herself, take upon her journey to go within, genuinely, authentically, from the inside to the outside, she will find the best feminine version of herself. And we're not saying best as some type of, this new age projection of you living your best life. No, we're just talking about feeling comfortable in her skin, being able to feel comfortable in all aspects of her being able to feel free in her spirit, but also disciplined, being able to magnetize the things that she needs to her. So when I see this rhetoric from these older women, I can't help but think you're either in this, but age matters too. It does matter, because 25, like I said, 25 it changed a lot for me. 25 changed a lot for me, so as I'm continuing to move forward, I know that's going to continue to open my eyes even more so. And there's a lot of things that I can overlook, but at the end of the day, I choose not to. And not only is it a choice, I know within my spirit it just isn't right, And so when you're putting out this superficial message to young women, you're setting them up for narcissists. You're setting them up for true spiritual warfare. You're setting them up to put themselves in certain spaces that they will have to really, really fight. And I believe in their ability to fight and overcome, but why should we even give that message? I really wish that I, as a young girl, could have someone directly to depend on for older women who I can depend on for the real wisdom, well-roundedly, right? But especially in the area of romance and things of that nature, because there's so many truths that just people, they're not unveiling it. It's more so, here's a shortcut, or here's try this, or make sure you do this, or you just have to endure this, when in reality, why not just give us the truth, help us navigate to a certain extent, then give us the ability to make a choice and then be there. There's so much of this fake rhetoric, and it just really goes to show, I feel like, that women are of low character, low morale. I don't know, I can't put a timestamp on it. I could say, oh, now it's happening, but maybe it's been this way. Another thing about the spiritual awakening that I've been embarking upon, and one of the things I'm grateful to have learned, is that the world is the world. That's why you are told to be in the world but not of the world, because the ways of the world is truly wicked at its base, and we do not wrestle against these physical people that we see. It is truly a spiritual warfare. And I think anything other than telling our people to dig, get past, that trauma. You're not here to be a perfect person. You never will be. But being able to dig and get to the root of certain things and heal what you can. You're never going to be fully healed. There's no go-to solution. There's no retreat you can take with anybody. There's no book, there's no crystal, there's no religion, there's no spiritual system per se. You have to draw straight from the Most High. You really do. And you don't have to refer to it the way other people refer to it. It's just, it has to be a genuine connection. A genuine connection. So the dating desperation that we see out here, this can be very deadly, and is very deadly for women. I said months before, maybe even a year before, Lauren Smith Fields' situation with that older guy and passing, and she met him on Bumble. I said this would happen. We are the most vulnerable population, no matter how much we try to intellectualize things and think we're overcoming things and we're marching and we're empowered and we have money and we this and we that. Open your eyes. Open your eyes, and just beyond that, deception will always be met with deception. You can never outsmart that which is unseen, the all-knowing, the almighty, the all-powerful. You can never outsmart that. So at some point behind the scenes, we can always say, woe is me, but behind the scenes, something's there most of the time, if not all of the time. And like I said, the dating desperation is going to be extremely deadly for women, most especially, but not just women. I'm waiting for this toxicology report to come out on Kevin Samuels, man. I felt something coming for that man. We're not going to get into the ins and outs of what is what, but I felt something coming. And you have to understand, like, for a lot of men, they think that they can just shake whatever. They feel like they have the upper hand, but we are coming to a time where you have to realize this spiritual shift, the unclean spirits that are loose right now and will increase, is going to happen to the point where people are not going to be able to ignore it anymore. So this dating desperation is dangerous on both parties, but I love to highlight it, and I have to highlight it for women and children. Right now, these unclean spirits are very, very, very anxious to procreate. This is why you see people speaking out about narcissistic abuse so much so. It's been here, it's been brittle, it's increasing. And these unclean spirits want to procreate, they want to spread. Not only do they want to leave their spirit on you and find a home in you and start to multiply in you, because that's what the narcissists come in your life and do. They leave you so wounded you feel like you need to put up a narcissistic shield to prevent this from ever happening to you again. That's multiplication of those unclean spirits right there. And you're going to see a lot more of these deadly situations with domestic affairs because these unclean spirits are procreating. They're going to be doing, they have been doing and will be doing so many different things. Unclean spirits don't just kill. They touch children, they violate people. You're going to see so many of these domestic affairs, these murder suicides increasing because of what's going on right now. One of their favorite ways to get you is through romantic partnership. The dating desperation, get rid of it. When you are on purpose, when you're on your path, naturally you will align with your partner. You have to trust that in due time. Even when you date, you don't have to invite people in your home. Even when you date, you do not have to invite people around your children. Even when you date, you do not have to have intimacy with these people. Be very cautious. This goes for both parties, men and women alike. Nobody is above what is going on right now. And when you open those doors, you have to be ready to fight. So I'm going to leave that right there.